It's been a while since Lumber Tycoon 2 has received a proper update, so today I'll be making and designing a Lumber Tycoon 2 update. This includes a brand new biome, some trees, and more. Anyways, let's get right into it. For our new biome, I decided it's going to be jungle themed, and we're going to have it right in this area. So to start off, I started making the terrain, which I didn't know exactly how I wanted the terrain to look like. I just started placing stuff down and seeing how it went. Obviously now I'm starting to work on the rocks and just trying to make it blend into the rest of the surroundings that Lumber Tycoon 2 has. I didn't want these to look too unnatural. And also, while I was making the rocks, I was just thinking about how cool it would be to just see a spook tree just sitting on the rocks here. So I don't know why I just had that in mind. And yeah, I do go back and adjust how the biome looks a couple times, which is what you're seeing me do now. Just adding a little bit more land because I wasn't entirely happy with how small it was. Now just making a small passageway into the biome from the tropics. Now I'm just building a ramp so you can get down and making it look like a proper transition into the biome, and I'm adjusting these rocks around so it fits a little better. Next up, I began designing the first tree that will come into this biome. And I was just going to start off with the trunk. I compared it to the other trees just to make it fit better and not be too thick. So I'm going to give it a wood texture, and now we're going to work on the planks. I kind of wanted this to be just a regular jungle tree. I think I ended up calling it a jungle tree, and I wanted it to be like pretty long and not a lot of branches until you get up to the top, and pretty large leaves. Obviously, I'm going to make a bunch of variants to spread throughout the biome, so it's not really the same. And yeah, just making the branches right now. Now, jungles are typically very thick in trees and bushes and stuff, so I really wanted to make large leaves to cover the ground and genuinely give it a jungle look. So I started taking some parts and turning them into a leaf texture and just putting them on the branches so it'll cover up the ground. Now, I wasn't exactly happy with how large the tree was, so I did go back later to make larger variants, and right now just making the log so you guys know what it'll look like. So yeah, there you go. Anyways, here is the jungle tree. The log is gonna sell for 1.5, just a little bit more than the cherry tree, as well as the plank, again just a little bit more than the cherry tree. The hardness is just a little less than lava wood at 6.3, and the growth is about 6 minutes more than lava wood at 23 minutes. After making the first tree variant, I started making some more variety in how the trees will look, and then I started spreading them around the biome. Now, I wasn't originally going to make another tree for this biome, but I thought might as well have some plants that cover up the floor, so again, you get that dense feeling to it. So I started making a tree that was actually going to be kind of like a bush. So it was going to be really short, not really grow to be that tall or large, pretty thin branches, and, just going to be a bush. Anyways, I was modifying the tree until I found a subscribe button, which you should totally click. It's free and it's very fun, so yeah, do it. While I work on the branches, you may have noticed that there are oak trees in the background. Eventually, I went and threw some elm trees in the background, again, just for some variety of the trees to spawn here, although oak and elm trees are going to be fairly rare to spawn in this biome, but I just threw some in just so we could have variety. So yeah, pretty thick leaves on a very small plant, again, just to make it look like a bush. And again, I do go and make variants at the end of this. I did end up finishing it, but I didn't like how small the leaves were, so I went back and made them slightly bigger. Again, just to give it more of a bush feel. Now that the bush tree is complete, the log and the plank sell for just a little more than elm. The hardness is 2, which is around where the oak tree is, and the growth will be 11 minutes. And just like I did for the jungle tree, I'm going to start making variants of the bush tree, and then I'll start spreading them around and placing them throughout the biome. Then I went in to test to see how the biome would look when you're in game. Then I decided Lumber Tycoon 2 could use a new store, so I yanked Yes It's the Land store to use as a base plate, and I got to work. The idea here is to make a store full of fun stuff like dynamite, where you can blow up trees, and just some really interesting items that would be fun to mess around with in Lumber Tycoon 2, hence the name Lumber Toys. I went to Link's Logic to see what the inside of that store looked like and decided to use that as a template. I then decided to start working on a new floor, which would end up being a red carpet. I then began a rough outline of what I wanted the shelves to look like. I know I wanted a lot, and I didn't have a lot of ideas for items that I could throw in here, which you guys can actually give me suggestions down in the comments for what I could throw in here. Anyways, I threw a banana box, which you might recognize from a previous video, and I threw in dynamite. I then went on and made a slightly larger dynamite, and the middle shelf is going to be for limited items like Christmas gifts or whatever. The next tree I make is going to be in the cave crawler maze where you can get blue wood. Then I speed ran this next tree that I wanted to kind of look like a zombie tree but hanging from the ceiling. And now that the tree is finished, we can go and look at the stats. The Spore Tree's log and plank sell for about the same as the Spook Tree, just a little more, and the hardness is just a little less than the Spook Tree, and the growth is 34 minutes. For our last addition in this update, I decided Lumber Tycoon 2 could use a new basic axe. Now I began making the axe texture, which I wanted it to look kind of old and dark and kind of worn out, but still, it's going to be the best axe in the game that you can get in stores that's not a limited item. And this will be going in Bob's Shack. Once I had an axe to a decent template, I decided to darken it up and change the texture around and just keep adjusting it until I had something I liked. Then it was the moment of truth to see what it looked like, and it looked amazing. It looked old, just how I wanted it, and really dark, which I feel like would fit perfectly in Bob's Shack. And then after I had completed it, I took the finished product to Bob's Shack and called it a day. Anyways, that will do it for today's video. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe as we're on the road to 10,000. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.